Elena stood on the observation deck of the Defiant, watching Earth shrink to a blue marble against the vastness of space. The ship's engines hummed beneath her feet as they prepared for the jump to the tournament coordinates. She scrolled through her hand-picked team's files on her datapad. Each specialist chosen for qualities the military establishment considered liabilities rather than strengths. "Commander, we'll reach the jump point in 20 minutes, Lieutenant Rivera announced from the doorway. Elena nodded without turning. Are our guests still demanding an audience? The Valkyrian delegation is quite insistent. They've been in the diplomatic suite for 3 hours. Let them wait another 3, Elena replied, her eyes fixed on the stars. They came to intimidate us. I want them uncomfortable. The Valkyrian analysis of human failure possibilities had been broadcast across the solar system. Biological fragility, technological inferiority, evolutionary immaturity. Their ambassador, 9 feet of armored exoskeleton and cold certainty, had delivered the message with the detached interest of a scientist discussing bacteria. When Elena finally entered the diplomatic suite, the Valkyrians rose to their full height, towering over her. Their leader, Ambassador Xerac, fixed multifaceted eyes on her. Commander Reyes, we expected your Admiral Zhang, he said, mandibles clicking with barely disguised contempt. The Admiral has more important matters, Elena replied, remaining standing when they gestured toward seats. Was there something specific you needed, or was this visit purely ceremonial? The ambassador's carapace shifted colors slightly. We wish to offer guidance. The tournament is not for developing species. The challenges will test capabilities humans have not yet evolved. Elena smiled thinly. Thank you for your concern. We've studied previous tournaments extensively. Studying and experiencing are different matters, another Valkyrian interjected. The harvesters of Deneb VII studied too. Their civilization ended after their tournament failure. How unfortunate, Elena said, keeping her expression neutral despite the thinly veiled threat. Perhaps they lacked certain qualities that we possess. Your confidence is misplaced, Ambassador Xerac said. We have dominated 30% of known space for millennia. Humans have barely established colonies in a single system. Elena walked to the viewport, gesturing toward distant stars. We've noticed something interesting about your empire, Ambassador. Your expansion stopped precisely at the boundaries established in your tournament victory. 3,000 years of technological advancement, yet your borders remained static. The Valkyrians exchanged glances, mandibles twitching in their equivalent of discomfort. We respect treaty boundaries, Xerac replied stiffly. Or perhaps, Elena suggested, those boundaries weren't rewards but containment measures. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Be careful with speculation, Commander, the ambassador warned. Tournament participants have experienced accidents when they ask inappropriate questions. Elena turned back to them, her smile never reaching her eyes. Then it's fortunate humans are known for our caution and restraint. After the Valkyrians departed, Admiral Zhang contacted her via secure channel. I see you've already irritated our galactic neighbors, he said, his weathered face betraying a hint of amusement. Just testing a theory, Elena replied. The Valkyrians aren't participating as champions. They're enforcers. This tournament isn't what it appears. Zhang nodded gravely. That's why I chose you, Elena. The security of Earth may depend not on winning this game, but on changing its rules entirely. The Defiant's engines shifted pitch as they approached the jump point. Ahead lay Terminus and a competition designed to keep humanity in its place. Elena's fingers traced the unconventional battle plans already forming in her mind. Well, she murmured to herself as the stars began to streak past the viewport. They're about to learn why humans make terrible pets. Elena crept through the recycling conduits connecting the habitat zones, following the hand-drawn map Kraz had provided. The service passages stank of processed waste and ozone, but they remained unmonitored by tribunal security systems. Behind her, Dr. Tariq Hassan ducked beneath a low-hanging pipe, wincing as his shoulder scraped rusty metal. "Are you certain these other species will even listen to us?" he whispered. The Aerolons barely acknowledged our existence during the orientation. "They'll listen," Elena replied, checking the junction markers against her map, "because we're offering something they've never had here before: an alliance." The Thren habitat zone appeared as a misty greenhouse dome, nestled between more conventional structures. Elena and Tarek approached cautiously, senses alert for security drones. The vine-covered entrance dilated at their approach, revealing a Thren elder whose bark-like skin gleamed with phosphorescent patterns. "Humans in our sanctuary," the elder observed, voice rustling like wind through leaves. "Bold or desperate?" "Pragmatic," Elena answered. "We've discovered disturbing information about the tournament's true purpose." Inside the humid dome, representatives from 3 Thren family groves gathered around a living table that pulsed gently with bioluminescence. Elena shared Kraz's data crystal, projecting historical records of previous tournament victors whose celebrations quickly gave way to resource treaties, protection agreements, and eventually, complete subjugation. "The tribunal doesn't seek worthy peers," she explained. "They identify potential threats and neutralize them through this elaborate game." The eldest Thren's branches trembled. "We suspected deception. For centuries, our long-range vessels have disappeared near tribunal borders. Navigation accidents," they claimed. By midnight, Elena's makeshift coalition had grown to include the silicon-based Krith, whose crystalline bodies refracted light in hypnotic patterns as they communicated through resonant tones. Our mathematicians calculated a 98.7% probability of tournament corruption, the Krith representative chimed. "But as individuals, we lacked sufficient data points to confirm." The gravity-defying Aerolons proved most difficult to convince. Their delegation hovered near the dome ceiling, tentacles rippling with skepticism. "Cooperation among competitors violates tournament protocols," their speaker noted, voice whistling through specialized air bladders. "Exactly," Elena replied. "The system is designed to keep us isolated and competing against each other. What if that's precisely why no new species ever truly wins?" As dawn approached, Elena outlined her unprecedented proposal: a secret coalition that would appear to compete normally while sharing information and resources behind the scenes. Each species would maintain their individual entries while coordinating strategies. "We face 3 immediate challenges," she explained. "First, concealing our alliance from tribunal observers. Second, determining which other competitors might join us. Third, preparing for retaliation when we're discovered, because we will be discovered." Kraz arrived as the meeting concluded, his scaled skin glistening with nervous sweat. "The Valkyrian command ship entered orbit 2 hours ago," he reported. "General Krex himself has come. He never leaves the Imperial capital unless the tribunal expects significant resistance," Elena finished. Returning to human quarters through maintenance tunnels, Elena found her team already awake, preparing equipment for the first trial. Maya Okafor looked up from her modified quantum interface, dark circles under her eyes suggesting she hadn't slept. "I've been analyzing the tournament registration data," she said. "Every winning species in the past millennium shows the same pattern: rapid technological advancement before the tournament, then centuries of stagnation after their victory." Elena nodded grimly, as if something deliberately stunted their progress. "Commander," Darius called from the communication station. "Official notification just arrived. The technology trial begins in 3 hours." Elena surveyed her misfit team of human specialists, each brilliant in ways Earth's authorities had failed to appreciate. Beyond these walls waited their new allies, species with different evolutionary paths, but a shared desire for true independence. "They expect us to compete," she said with a determined smile. "Let's show them how humans cooperate instead." The technology trial arena's central platform hummed with energy as Maya Okafor faced the Zephyrin representative, a being whose body seamlessly integrated organic and mechanical components. Spectators from 100 worlds watched from floating observation pods, their murmurs creating a constant background buzz. "The challenge parameters are simple," announced the tribunal adjudicator, voice amplified across the vast space. "Create a system capable of predicting quantum state collapse with greater than 80% accuracy. You have 3 hours." Maya's hands trembled slightly as she accessed the workstation. The Zephyrin opponent moved with fluid precision, mechanical appendages already assembling components at superhuman speed. From the human observation booth, Elena watched Maya staring at her screen, seemingly paralyzed. "She's not even starting," Darius muttered. "The Zephyrin is already halfway done." "Wait for it," Elena replied calmly. "Maya doesn't work like others do." Below, Maya continued staring at the challenge parameters, occasionally glancing at the Zephyrin's rapidly developing system. After nearly 40 minutes of apparent inactivity, she suddenly began typing furiously. Her fingers flew across multiple interfaces as holographic schematics appeared and disappeared around her. "The standard approach won't work," she explained to the confused adjudicator who had come to check her progress. "Everyone tries to predict quantum collapse using mathematical models, but they're trying to force deterministic solutions on inherently probabilistic systems. Rather than building from scratch, Maya began salvaging components from failed attempts in the testing area. She combined a Thren photosynthetic processor with fragments of a Krith crystal matrix, creating unexpected synergies between biological and mineral computing approaches. The audience murmured as her cobbled-together system began taking shape. "What is she doing?" The Zephyrin delegate's voice carried across the arena, mechanical eyes whirring as they focused on Maya's unconventional approach. With minutes remaining, both competitors activated their systems. The Zephyrin's elegant machine hummed with perfect efficiency, its displays showing prediction accuracy hovering at 78%. Impressive, but just below the required threshold. Maya's hybrid creation sparked and whistled, looking more like a science experiment gone wrong than a finished product. The adjudicator approached it cautiously, scanning its performance metrics with visible skepticism. 83% accuracy, they announced, mandibles clicking in surprise. The human system exceeds parameters. The Zephyrin representative examined Maya's creation, optical sensors extending for closer inspection. "This violates established quantum theory. It shouldn't function." "Yet it does," Maya replied with a tired smile, "because I stopped trying to force the quantum world to follow our rules and built a system that adapts to its nature instead." The second trial began that afternoon in the Marshall Arena, a transparent dome where gravity and atmospheric conditions could be altered instantly. Darius King faced a Valkyrian champion whose exoskeleton gleamed with ceremonial markings. "Combat continues until submission or incapacitation," the adjudicator explained. "Weaponry is restricted to natural evolutionary advantages." The Valkyrian bowed formally before dropping into a combat stance perfected over millennia of imperial conquest. Darius responded with an exaggerated series of stretches that drew laughter from some spectators. "All that flexibility won't help when Grak breaks your spine," a Valkyrian observer called from nearby. "Maybe not," Darius replied cheerfully, "but it makes it a lot harder to predict what I'll do next." As the signal to begin sounded, the Valkyrian launched forward with mathematical precision, claws aiming for vulnerable human pressure points. But instead of defending, Darius began speaking, telling stories of Earth's martial traditions, while executing unpredictable movements that defied the Valkyrian's combat algorithms. "My grandmother taught me fighting isn't about strength," he said, slipping past a deadly strike, "but about changing the conversation." The frustrated Valkyrian roared, "Fight with honor, not words." "Why choose?" Darius replied, his seemingly random movements gradually revealing a pattern that systematically exhausted his opponent's stronger but less adaptable physiology. From the Coalition's hidden observation post, Elena watched both victories with quiet satisfaction. "The tribunal expected us to follow their playbook," she told her assembled allies. "They never considered we might write our own." The Void navigation trial began with competitors boarding sleek vessels designed specifically for the challenge. Alina sensed something was wrong the moment they entered their assigned ship, the interior too polished, too perfect for a mere test vessel. "Check everything twice," she instructed her team. "This feels like a setup." Dr. Tariq Hassan ran his hands along the navigation console, eyes narrowing. "The star charts are current, but these drift calculations are off by several decimal points. Almost as if they're meant to fail," Alina finished quietly. The trial commenced with a ceremonial countdown, vessels launching into what was supposed to be a contained simulation field. 15 minutes into the exercise, alarms blared across all ships as system failures cascaded through critical components. Alina's vessel lurched violently, artificial gravity fluctuating. "This is no simulation," Tariq announced, fingers flying across backup controls. "We're in an actual asteroid field with minimal shields and compromised navigation." Panic erupted across communication channels as competing vessels reported similar failures. 2 ships had already sustained damage from asteroid impacts, their distress signals growing increasingly desperate, while others frantically attempted standard emergency protocols. Tariq stared at the asteroid movements with growing fascination. He pulled up ancient star charts that most modern navigators considered obsolete. "Commander, these aren't random movements," he said, voice quickening with realization. "The asteroids follow patterns similar to Mesopotamian celestial models, chaotic at first glance, but with underlying mathematical harmonics." Using calculations that combined modern astrophysics with ancient astronomical traditions, Tariq identified safe corridors through the seemingly impenetrable field. Alina immediately directed their vessel through these pathways, approaching a Prismarate ship sending distress signals. "Their life support is failing," reported the sensor operator. 20 minutes of oxygen remaining. "Bring us alongside and prepare for emergency docking," Alina ordered. "We're bringing them aboard." The rescue operation required precision, flying through debris that would have shredded their vessel without Tariq's calculations. As the grateful Prismarates boarded, their crystalline leader regarded Alina with newfound respect. "We dismissed humans as primitive," they admitted, facets glowing with humility. "We were wrong." By the time they returned to Terminus, the human vessel had rescued 3 stranded competitors, including species that had previously viewed humans with contempt. Footage of the rescues spread throughout the tournament grounds, sparking uncomfortable questions about why supposedly safe trials had become life-threatening. During the mandatory quarantine period following the trial, Alina met with Sixel in a maintenance junction where sensor coverage was minimal. The gaseous entity flowed through conduits inaccessible to solid beings, gathering information from throughout Terminus. "I've located a restricted data center," Sixel communicated, its luminous form pulsing with excitement. The encryption was sophisticated but followed patterns similar to ancient Earth binary code, predictable once you understand the baseline assumptions. Together, they accessed the hidden facility, Alina wearing an environmental suit to breathe in the argon atmosphere that concealed the center from most biological detection. Inside, holographic displays revealed the true extent of the tribunal's operations. "They've been harvesting innovations from every competing species," Alina whispered, scanning through thousands of files. "Quantum theories, biological adaptations, cultural frameworks, all extracted and claimed by tribunal members." Sixel flowed toward a secure archive, interfacing directly with its systems. "This contains records of post-tournament agreements. The patterns are consistent across centuries." The agreements started innocuously: cultural exchanges, technology sharing, defense treaties. But within decades, each victorious species gradually surrendered autonomy, their resource-rich worlds reclassified as production centers for tribunal needs. Most disturbing were the Valkyrian military logs detailing pacification operations against worlds that resisted these transitions. Footage showed the systematic dismantling of once proud civilizations, their unique achievements reduced to museum curiosities. This tournament isn't about finding worthy peers, Alina realized, downloading evidence to a secure crystal. It's sophisticated subjugation disguised as celebration. When she shared these findings with her coalition allies, even the most skeptical members recognized the existential threat. What had begun as a competition for resources had become something far more urgent, a fight for the independent future of all their species. The desolation landscape stretched before Elena's team like a nightmare college of hostile environments. Steaming acid pools bordered Arctic wastes, while tornado-like storms traveled unpredictable paths across barren plains. Each coalition team had established base camps in their assigned territories, maintaining the appearance of competition while secretly coordinating through encoded communications. 4 days into the survival challenge, the first signs of sabotage appeared. Zoella, a young Aralonian diplomat, arrived at the human camp with her flight membranes partially crystallized. It came on suddenly, she explained, wincing as Dr. Lena Chen examined the painful growths. 3 others in our camp show similar symptoms. Lena's analysis revealed engineered nanoparticles that targeted specific genetic markers in non-tribunal species. This isn't natural, she confirmed. It's a designer pathogen with multiple vectors, likely spread through the morning mist. When similar symptoms appeared in Thren and Krith encampments, Elena authorized a dangerous expedition. The tribunal is watching for standard responses, she told her team. They expect us to retreat or request medical evacuation. Instead, Lena ventured into the acid marshes that other competitors avoided, protected by a makeshift environmental suit. The local flora, with its vibrant purple filaments, had caught her attention during landing. The molecular structure resembles Earth's extremophile bacteria, she explained over the communications link. If my theory is correct, they've evolved natural defenses against the harsh environment that could counteract the engineered pathogen. Working in the field medical station, Lena extracted compounds from the marsh plants, combining them with modified elements from her standard medical kit. The resulting antidote neutralized the crystalline growths within hours, quickly spreading through coalition camps. The tribunal observation drones hovered constantly overhead, recording what appeared to be separate survival efforts, but was actually a coordinated integration of resources. Fren created living shelters that filtered toxins from the air. Aralons predicted weather patterns using their sensitivity to atmospheric pressure. Humans designed water collection systems that served multiple species' needs. Krith formed crystalline communication arrays that bypassed tribunal monitoring. In the tribunal command center overlooking the desolation field, General Krex stood at rigid attention as the supreme adjudicator reviewed the surveillance footage. The coalition is too effective, the adjudicator noted, compound eyes narrowing. Particularly troubling is their response to the bioweapon. They should have lost at least 30% of their participants. The human doctor showed remarkable adaptability, Krex observed neutrally. Too remarkable. The adjudicator's voice hardened. This cooperation represents an existential threat to established order. The humans are the connective element. They must be eliminated immediately. Krex received his orders with a formal bow, but doubt clouded his thoughts as he prepared the strike team. Throughout his military career, he had loyally executed tribunal directives. Yet the evidence Elena had broadcast, including records of his own people's manipulation, had planted seeds of question. Under cover of an engineered electrical storm that disrupted surveillance, Krex led a precision strike on the human camp. The attack came swiftly, targeting command and communication systems. Elena was coordinating with coalition partners when the explosion ripped through their medical center. The blast threw her against a bulkhead, shrapnel tearing through her environmental suit. Lena worked desperately to stabilize Elena as coalition security teams secured the perimeter. Multiple internal injuries, she reported grimly. She needs advanced medical care we can't provide here. With Elena unconscious in their makeshift medical center, leadership fell to diplomat Alienator, whose background in interplanetary crisis management had prepared her for impossible situations, though perhaps not this impossible. They're trying to cut off the head, she told the assembled coalition representatives. But they've miscalculated what we've built here. Rather than hiding the attack, Alia gathered evidence from the scene. Valkyrian weapons signatures, tactical approach patterns, communication fragments, and combined it with the archive data Elena had discovered. Using the Coalition's improvised communication array, she bypassed tribunal blocks to broadcast directly to all species on Terminus and monitoring stations across 12 systems. "This is no longer about winning a tournament," her message concluded. "This is about freedom from millennia of manipulation. The evidence speaks for itself." As protests erupted among tournament spectators and rumors spread through competing delegations, the Tribunal's Supreme Council announced an emergency evaluation period, suspending all events indefinitely. In their secure chamber, the adjudicator turned to General Krex. "Explain how your assassination team failed their primary objective." Krex maintained perfect military posture, but something had fundamentally shifted in his worldview. "Perhaps," he suggested carefully, "we have underestimated what happens when diverse species truly cooperate instead of merely competing." Terminus had transformed into a militarized zone overnight. Tribunal security forces patrolled all main corridors. Communication systems remained jammed, and competing species were confined to their quarters under the pretense of safety protocols. The Coalition members had retreated to the maintenance tunnels where they'd first formed their alliance, using service passages to move between sectors undetected. Elena drifted in and out of consciousness in their makeshift medical bay, her injuries stabilized but requiring more advanced treatment than Lena could provide with limited resources. During a moment of clarity, she studied the tunnel schematics Jin Takeda had been mapping. "These patterns," she murmured, tracing lines on the display. "They're not random or merely functional." Jin, who had spent hours documenting the mysterious glyphs etched into original wall sections, nodded in agreement. "The service corridors create mathematical sequences that repeat throughout the structure. I initially thought they were decorative or religious symbols, but they're actually navigation markers," Elena finished, "like ancient waypoints." Following the patterns required Coalition members to translate symbols using their combined knowledge: Arelonian understanding of flow dynamics, Thren interpretations of organic patterns, human recognition of mathematical sequences, and Krith resonance sensitivity. The trail led them deeper into Terminus than any had ventured before, to a sealed chamber that had remained untouched for millennia. The entrance responded not to technology, but to harmonics, specific tones produced when representatives from different species vocalized together. As the massive door slid open, lights activated automatically, revealing a crystalline data repository that hummed with dormant energy. Jin approached the central pedestal, where holographic interfaces shimmered into existence at his touch. The images that appeared showed beings unlike any known species, entities of light and energy with only suggestions of physical form. "These must be the architects," Jin whispered, his cultural anthropologist training helping him decipher the ancient language systems. "According to these records, they evolved beyond physical form millennia ago. But before departing, they created Terminus as—" He paused, rechecking his translation, "as an evaluation mechanism, not to test military might or technological advancement, but to identify species ready for cosmic citizenship." The repository revealed the tournament's original purpose: not competition but cooperation testing, measuring ethical development, and the capacity for peaceful coexistence among diverse life forms. The Tribunal had discovered this system centuries ago and corrupted its purpose, transforming an Enlightenment project into a control mechanism. Most significantly, the chamber contained access points to an ancient transportation network spanning the galaxy, instantaneous passage systems that bypassed conventional space travel limitations. They built shortcuts through subspace, Maya explained, examining the technology with wonder. The Tribunal must have found these and limited their use to maintain control over slower traveling species. Using this network, Elena's coalition could bypass the communication blackout, sending evidence to their homeworlds and other species throughout known space. More importantly, they could prove that advancement came through cooperation rather than domination. Meanwhile, aboard the Valkyrian command ship, General Krex reviewed the evidence packet transmitted from the human vessel during the Void trial. The footage played on his private terminal. Centuries of manipulation, including classified operations his own ancestors had conducted against resisting worlds. One recording particularly haunted him, a Valkyrian commander from 3 generations earlier, speaking candidly to a tribunal representative about her own species' place in the galactic hierarchy. "We believe we rule through strength," she admitted, "but we merely enforce the boundaries you've set for us. Our empire extends precisely to the limits the tribunal permits." When the Tribunal Supreme Council convened an emergency session and ordered the complete destruction of Terminus to eliminate destabilizing elements, Krex faced the most difficult decision of his life. The orders were explicit: plant quantum destabilizers throughout Terminus infrastructure, sacrificing all competitors to prevent the spread of rebellion. Krex had never questioned orders before. His claws hovered over the communication panel, duty and truth waging war within him. Finally, he entered a secure channel provided by Kraz weeks earlier. "Commander Reyes," he transmitted, knowing the message would reach her coalition regardless of her condition. "Terminus has been marked for destruction. Complete planetary destabilization within 14 hours. The Tribunal fears what you've discovered more than you realize." In the Architect Chamber, Alina's team received the transmission with grim understanding. What had begun as a competition had become a desperate race to awaken ancient systems that might be their only hope of survival, and the only chance to reveal the truth to a galaxy that had lived under manipulation for millennia. The tribunal warships emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, surrounding Terminus in a spherical attack pattern that had crushed resistance movements for countless generations. From the Architect Chamber deep within Terminus, Alina watched the tactical display with grim determination. Her injuries still caused pain with every movement, but the Coalition needed her experience now more than ever. "Their formation has no conventional weaknesses," General Krex observed through the secure communication channel he'd established after defecting. "It was designed by our best military minds to be impenetrable." "Conventional is the key word," Alina replied, studying the approaching vessels. "They've optimized against known tactics, which means they've developed specific blind spots." She divided the Coalition members into specialized teams, each leveraging their unique evolutionary advantages. The plan she outlined seemed impossible, a desperate gamble combining technologies and tactics that had never before been integrated. "This won't be a battle in traditional terms," she explained to the assembled representatives. "We're not fighting to destroy their ships, but to show the galaxy a different path forward." Across Terminus, Coalition members moved with coordinated purpose. Aerolons manipulated the artificial planet's atmospheric systems, creating sensor-disrupting storm patterns that followed ancient Earth weather principles, rather than the logical progressions tribunal systems were calibrated to detect. Fren interfaced with the biological components of the architect systems, awakening dormant organic technologies. Krith amplified crystalline communication arrays to broadcast on frequencies the tribunal had long ignored. The humans' contribution came from Alina's lifelong study of Earth's military history, not just modern strategies, but ancient tactics from cultures across human history. The tribunal has developed predictive models based on what they consider logical approaches, she explained. But human warfare has rarely followed pure logic. We need to introduce chaos they can't predict. In space, pilot Sofia Mendoza led a small strike force through apparent gaps in the tribunal formations. Her flight patterns mimicked the movements of Earth insects, the unpredictable darting of dragonflies, the swarming behavior of bees, the spiral hunting dives of falcons. The small vessels carried no weapons but instead deployed specialized communication relays that would connect worlds beyond tribunal control. "Their tactical computers are trying to predict our next movements based on efficiency algorithms," Sofia reported as her squadron danced through defensive fire. "But we're not flying the shortest routes or the most fuel-efficient patterns." Aboard the tribunal flagship, automated defense systems crashed repeatedly while attempting to target the seemingly random trajectories. The Supreme Adjudicator watched in growing alarm as the human vessels penetrated defenses designed to stop armadas. "They're not attacking our weapons or shields," a tactical officer reported in confusion. "They're deploying communication buoys throughout our formation." On Terminus' surface, Coalition members activated long-dormant architect systems that hummed with increasing power. Massive segments of the planet's structure began to reconfigure, causing tremors throughout the artificial world. Elena steadied herself against a control panel as the chamber shifted around them. "The entire planet is transforming," Maya observed in awe. "It's not just a tournament arena, it's responding to our cooperative efforts exactly as the architects designed it to." The ancient engines powered up for the first time in millennia, revealing Terminus' true nature. Not merely a constructed world, but a massive vessel built by the architects to preserve and transport species worthy of advancement. As the battle reached its climax, the Tribunal Supreme Council authorized deployment of their ultimate weapon, the Star Eater, a device capable of triggering stellar collapse. The massive weapon powered up, targeting not just Terminus but the nearby inhabited Proxima system with its 17 billion inhabitants. "This has moved beyond eliminating evidence," the Supreme Adjudicator announced to his council. "We must demonstrate the cost of defiance to all watching species." In this moment of existential threat, the Coalition demonstrated the very quality the architects had designed their test to identify. Sixel flowed through the Star Eater's systems, identifying critical junctures. Thren provided bioenergy to power override sequences. Krith focused this energy through crystal arrays aligned to specific frequencies. Humans coordinated these disparate efforts into a coherent strategy. And Valkyrian defectors led by Krex provided critical access codes to penetrate the weapon's security systems. Together, they didn't merely neutralize the weapon, they redirected its immense energy into the ancient architect systems, fully awakening Terminus to its original purpose. The synchronized defense demonstrated precisely what the architects had hoped to find: diverse species transcending their differences to protect shared principles of freedom and self-determination. As the Star Eater's energy flowed into Terminus, the planet ship systems fully activated, projecting the shimmering field that encased the entire structure. Within the field, something remarkable happened. Time appeared to slow while awareness expanded. For a brief moment, each Coalition member experienced what the architects had intended: a glimpse of cosmic consciousness, where separation between species dissolved into recognition of shared existence. The event historians would later name the Awakening of Terminus, reverberated across the galaxy as the ancient transportation network activated fully for the first time in millennia. The evidence of tribunal manipulation, countless records of subjugation disguised as partnership, reached thousands of worlds simultaneously, bypassing censorship systems and control mechanisms established over centuries. Within 3 weeks, representatives from hundreds of species arrived through newly activated architect transport nodes. Many came in anger, demanding justice for generations of manipulation. Others arrived in wonder, seeking understanding of the profound shift in galactic awareness. The central arena of Terminus, once designed for competition, transformed in response to this unprecedented gathering. Its walls became transparent, revealing the stars beyond, while translator fields ensured perfect understanding across biological and technological barriers. Elena entered the assembly chamber slowly, still recovering from her injuries. Coalition members walked alongside her, not as subordinates, but as equals in the new reality they had helped create. Rather than ascending to the elevated tribunal dais, she chose to speak from the chamber center, standing on the same level as those she addressed. "We stand at a crossroads," she began, her voice carrying easily through the architect acoustics, not to replace one form of domination with another, but to reimagine how diverse species might coexist. The governance principles she proposed drew from Earth's varied political experiments: the protection of individual rights regardless of species, representative bodies with rotating leadership, judicial systems incorporating diverse perspectives, and decentralized authority to prevent power concentration. What might have seemed naive idealism weeks earlier now found receptive audience among beings who had glimpsed, however briefly, the cosmic consciousness the architects had evolved toward. Our species has always been characterized by contradiction, Elena explained. We build weapons yet cherish peace. We form tribes yet dream of unity. Perhaps our greatest contribution isn't technological but philosophical, the understanding that diversity strengthens rather than weakens a society. The proposal generated intense debate that continued for days, with species contributing refinements based on their own evolutionary paths and histories. The former tribunal members, stripped of their artificial advantages, faced accountability councils composed of representatives from worlds they had manipulated. Some accepted responsibility. Others retreated into denial. The Valkyrians, under Krex's transitional leadership, confronted their own complicity most directly. We believed ourselves conquerors, Krex addressed the assembly, only to discover we were instruments of a system that limited our own potential as surely as those we subjugated. 3 months later, as preparations for the first Galactic Conquest elections proceeded across formerly isolated regions, humanity found itself in an unexpected position. Earth representatives were sought not for military prowess or technological advancement, but for their experience navigating division and imagining inclusive futures despite profound differences. In the deepest chamber of the Architect Archives, Elena joined representatives from every coalition species in a ceremony to activate the final repository. The crystal matrix illuminated, projecting the image of an architect speaking across millennia. The ultimate challenge for any intelligent species is not conquering others, but conquering the impulse to dominate. You have shown that diverse minds can unite without surrendering uniqueness, the true evolution of cosmic consciousness. The message continued, explaining why the architects had departed physical form yet left this test behind. We sought worthy successors to continue the work of understanding existence through diverse perspectives. Your cooperation in the face of extinction demonstrates readiness for the next stage of development. That night, celebration beacons activated across thousands of worlds, creating a galactic light show visible even from Earth's surface. Admiral Zhang, watching from his retirement home in the Himalayan mountains, smiled at the knowledge that humanity's defining moment hadn't come through superior firepower or technological leaps, but through the capacity to build bridges between seemingly incompatible worlds. On Terminus, now headquarters for the fledgling Galactic Conquest, Elena stood at a viewport overlooking the transformed landscape. Beside her, Krex considered the stars with new perspective. Your species confused us for so long, he admitted. Your contradictions seemed like weaknesses. They are weaknesses, Elena replied. But they're also strengths. Humans never forgot that progress isn't about perfection. It's about connection. As diplomatic vessels from newly contacted regions approached through the starlit darkness, Elena reflected on the journey that had begun with a tournament Earth was never meant to win. Humanity had indeed risen above the galaxy, not by standing on others' shoulders, but by helping all rise together.